Kieran Bradley stood outside one of his stores, holding a neatly folded sweater in his hands with a contemplative expression. 5 years ago, he acquired this chain of upscale boutiques, envisioning the potential to transform it into a remarkable and attainable luxury brand, complemented by exceptional service. However, recently he had been receiving a number of grievances. Initially, he resisted the claims from customers who felt overlooked or treated unfairly due to their appearance. Such occurrences are not part of our reality, he had informed his executive team. We prepare our team more effectively than that. Yet the grievances continued to pour in. Certain customers received exceptional service, while others were overlooked. Frustrated and in search of clarity, Kieran resolved to take on an undercover role. He donned a well-worn hoodie, tattered jeans, and battered sneakers. His typically neat beard was allowed to grow wild, and he sported heavy glasses. He bore no resemblance to the head of an 11-store boutique chain. None of the employees at the store had encountered him face-to-face. Most were only familiar with his name through company emails. With a deep breath, he crossed the threshold. The shop exuded a pristine charm, illuminated by gentle lighting and meticulously organized showcases. A smooth jazz playlist wafted through the air. The staff showcased a polished appearance in sleek black outfits, radiating elegance. Kieran's attention was instantly drawn to a striking tall woman with blonde hair standing at the front register. Alyssa was the name displayed on her tag. She was engaged in an animated conversation with a customer, a man dressed in a suit that exuded luxury. Kieran approached the counter, patiently anticipating his turn. Alyssa ignored him completely. "Excuse me," he remarked. "I wish to return this sweater." She hardly cast a glance in his direction. "Could you please provide a receipt?" "No, but I just purchased it last week," Kieran remarked. "The tags remain intact." Alyssa let out a heavy sigh, her disinterest evident. "A receipt is required for returns, as per store policy." Just as Kieran was about to reply, a woman clad in an elegant designer coat made her way over. Alyssa's whole attitude shifted. Her face radiated with a dazzling smile. "Welcome. How may I assist you today?" she said with a bright smile. Kieran scowled. He stood just a few feet away, but she had already moved on, as though he were nothing more than a shadow. "I was merely inquiring about a return," he exclaimed more forcefully. Alyssa hardly cast a glance in his direction. "As I mentioned, without a receipt, there can be no return." The lady clad in the exquisite coat chuckled softly. "Oh, I never hold on to my receipts either," she remarked. Alyssa shared a laugh with her. "For you, I can bend the rules a little. Allow me to take care of that for you." Kieran's jaw tightened. He observed as Alyssa welcomed the impeccably dressed woman's return without hesitation. No proof of purchase required. He stepped back, taking in the scene of the store. A noticeable pattern emerged. Alyssa and another male employee, Jake, were assisting only those customers who appeared affluent. Individuals dressed in more relaxed or less expensive attire were often overlooked or dismissed. A young woman in a modest sundress stepped inside, her eyes darting around with a hint of nervousness. She lifted a handbag from the display, examining it closely. "Could I receive some assistance?" she inquired gently. Jake lingered in the vicinity, feigning ignorance to her words. He chose to walk past her, heading straight for a man adorned with a Rolex. Kieran felt a knot in his stomach. A petite brunette named Maya observed the woman in distress. She hurried straight there. "Hello," Maya remarked with a warm smile. "That's one of our best sellers. Would you like to view it in a different hue?" The woman beamed, a look of clear relief washing over her face. "Indeed, I appreciate it. Thank you." Maya guided her to the counter, engaging in conversation while she selected various colors. In that moment, Kieran witnessed yet another instance of overt favoritism. A figure clad in tattered sneakers and a hoodie reminiscent of Kieran's entered, exuding an air of uncertainty. He paused momentarily before making his way toward Alyssa. "Excuse me, do you happen to have this shirt in a medium?" he inquired, gesturing towards the display model he was holding. Alyssa remained completely absorbed in her phone, not bothering to glance away. The man frowned, stating that what's available is all we have. Do you really think so? I noticed it in a more compact form on that rack. Alyssa began to speak, but her attention was drawn to a woman in heels and a silk blouse as she walked into the store. In an instant, her tone shifted. Hello and welcome. Are you searching for something extraordinary today? She sang, her attention entirely elsewhere, disregarding the man lingering before her. Kieran had reached his limit. His blood simmered with rage, yet he compelled himself to maintain his composure. He had to uncover the depths of this situation. He exited the store, retrieving his phone from his pocket. He intended to remain in the shadows for a while longer, perhaps explore another site before making his presence known. But now he refused to wait even a second longer. He re-entered, now armed with a strategy. Kieran stepped back into the store, his resolve unyielding. He had witnessed enough to validate the concerns that indicated his team was selectively determining who merited quality service. This was more than a simple miscommunication or an isolated error. A pattern had emerged, deeply rooted in the behavior of certain employees, and it was simply intolerable. He approached a display rack by the counter, feigning interest in the items as he tuned in to the conversation. Alyssa remained deep in conversation with the woman in the designer coat, sharing a laugh over something the customer had mentioned. Jake, the other employee who had overlooked the casually dressed customers, was now assisting a man in a tailored blazer, his tone friendly and welcoming. In the meantime, Maya stood out as the sole individual who reliably attended to every customer, no matter their appearance. Kieran observed the figure in the hoodie, the same one Alyssa had dismissed earlier, hanging around a display of accessories. He grasped a leather wallet, examining it closely as he turned it over in his hands. "Excuse me," he remarked, glancing back at Alyssa once more. "Is this available in black?" She hardly cast a look in his direction. "What's available is all we have," she stated matter-of-factly. Kieran's jaw clenched. The man paused, then returned the wallet to its place and faced the door. Just as he was about to depart, Kieran took a step ahead. "Excuse me," he called out, drawing the man's gaze. "It seems we may have one tucked away in the back." "Hold on a moment." Alyssa's gaze shot up, her eyes sharpening on Kieran as though she was seeing him for the very first time. "You don't work here," she said, her tone cutting. "No," Kieran conceded, "yet I understand how things ought to function." Alyssa folded her arms across her chest. "As you are aware, we do not have additional inventory in the back. All is revealed." Kieran disregarded her and shifted his attention to Maya, who had just completed assisting the woman in the sundress. "Are there any additional wallets in black?" he inquired. Maya gave a slight nod. "Absolutely, we definitely should. Allow me to verify." She slipped away into the stockroom. Alyssa exhaled in frustration. Kieran interrupted her, stating firmly that they do not. "You overlooked it. You disregarded him." Alyssa scoffed, but just as she was about to reply, Maya came back, holding a black wallet. "Here you are," she said, offering it to the customer with a warm smile. The man appeared truly astonished. He picked up the wallet, examining it closely. "Thank you, I'll go with this one," Kieran nodded. As Maya processed the transaction, Alyssa glanced back at Kieran, her irritation just beneath the surface. "Are you attempting to demonstrate something?" "I don't need to," Kieran stated. "You're handling that entirely by yourself." Jake, positioned a short distance away, felt a wave of discomfort wash over him but chose to remain silent. Kieran approached the counter and set down the sweater he had tried to return earlier. "Let's give this another shot," he said, fixing his gaze on Alyssa. Alyssa's expression turned steely as she said, "I need to return this. As I mentioned earlier, without a receipt, we cannot process a return. However, that policy isn't universal, is it?" Kieran inquired, tilting his head slightly. "An exception was made for her." He pointed in the direction of the woman clad in the stylish coat, who had already exited the store. Alyssa parted her lips, yet a moment of uncertainty held her back. Feeling the weight of the atmosphere, Jake quickly immersed himself in the task of refolding shirts behind the counter. Maya, who had remained quiet, looked back and forth between them before finally breaking the silence. Kieran nodded, indicating that while we should request a receipt, items that are evidently unworn and still have tags can be returned at the manager's discretion. Alyssa is currently serving as the acting manager, correct? Maya paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes before she finally nodded. So, Alyssa, Kieran went on. What was the reason she received an exception while I did not? Alyssa's patience shattered. I'm not quite sure what your intentions are, but we need to uphold our standards. We serve a specific group of clients. If we allow anyone to stroll in and request returns without any evidence, this establishment would crumble. Kieran's gaze grew intense. Simply anyone. Alyssa's jaw clenched, yet she stood her ground. As a premium establishment, it is essential for us to safeguard our reputation. This entails concentrating on clients who truly fit in this space. Maya's expression was one of sheer terror. Jake stayed quiet, steering clear of any gaze. Kieran let out a breath through his nostrils, striving to maintain his composure. He had witnessed more than enough. He delved into his pocket and retrieved his phone. With a few taps on the screen, he raised it to display the official website of the company. His own visage reflected back at them from the Our Leadership page. Alyssa's expression transformed from annoyance to a moment of clarity. Jake's posture became rigid. Maya's eyes grew large with surprise. Kieran allowed the silence to linger for a moment before he finally broke it with his words. I am the owner of this company, and Alyssa's face lost all its color. Kieran raised a hand. I've been here for 20 minutes observing the way you interact with customers. Observing your judgments on who merits respect and who falls short. Jake finally found his voice, though it was hesitant. We were merely attempting to hold our ground, but Kieran interrupted him. This establishment does not determine who is included. Each individual who enters that space is a patron. Every customer deserves respect. Alyssa took a deep breath. I didn't mean to imply that. You meant precisely what you said, Kieran interjected, his tone steady, and it's exactly what I've been hearing grievances about. Maya, having remained quiet until now, finally broke her silence. I had no idea this was intentional. I made an effort to assist everyone, and I observed Kieran giving her a slight nod. He glanced back at Alyssa, yet I couldn't help but observe how you and Jake overlooked others solely based on their looks. That's not merely poor business practice. It's utterly repugnant. Alyssa's hands balled into fists at her sides, yet she remained silent, while Jake shifted uneasily. We believed we were acting in the store's best interest. Kieran's tone was icy. You were acting in your own best interests. A hush enveloped the room once more. Shoppers in the store began to sense the unease, a few casting curious glances in the direction of the commotion. Kieran inhaled deeply, gathering his thoughts before speaking his last words. This is not the way my company functions. As of today, this store's operations will not be conducted in that manner either. Alyssa appeared ready to dispute, yet she restrained herself. Jake averted his eyes completely, while Kieran stole a glance at Maya. You were the only one here who truly embodied the spirit of a dedicated team member today. Maya swallowed, her hands clasped together, as Kieran redirected his attention to Alyssa and Jake. This is the conclusion of our discussion. I will be implementing some changes right away. Silence enveloped them, an unspoken understanding of what lay ahead. Kieran was determined to speak his mind, allowing the gravity of his words to envelop the store. The stillness lingered as Alyssa and Jake remained motionless, their faces reflecting a blend of astonishment and fear. Maya stood frozen, unsure if she should break the silence. Kieran glanced over at the customers who were still perusing the shelves. Several had unmistakably caught wind of the altercation, their gazes flickering in his direction, anticipating the unfolding events. He knew he had to seize the moment, his gaze locked onto Alyssa. Please return your name tag and store keys at this time. Your time here is complete. Alyssa's expression hardened, yet she refrained from voicing her disagreement. Instead, she lifted her hand, unclipped her name tag, and set it down on the counter with a sharp sound. With deliberate motions, She retrieved a small keyring from her pocket and placed it beside it. Kieran turned his eyes toward Jake. "You can do the same." Jake hesitated, his fingers twitching at his sides. "I understand that today wasn't ideal, but I've been here for more than a year, and I'm familiar with the clientele. I understand the inner workings of this store. That's precisely the issue." Kieran's voice remained calm, yet his tone left no space for discussion. "This establishment operates according to my directives, and you've expressed that you don't fit in it." Jake let out a sharp breath, then ripped off his name tag and flung it onto the counter. Without uttering a word, he made his way to the back room, likely to collect his belongings. Alyssa trailed behind, her heels striking the floor with a crisp, rhythmic sound. Once they left, Maya exhaled a breath she had evidently been restraining. "I wasn't aware you would be here today," she remarked with a hint of hesitation. "You weren't meant to," Kieran replied. "But I had to witness this with my own eyes." Maya gave a slow, deliberate nod. "I had always suspected that Alyssa had her favorites, but I never grasped the extent of it. I simply aimed to assist everyone as I would wish to be treated myself." "And that's precisely why you remain here," Kieran remarked, causing Maya to blink in surprise. "Hold on, you're not closing the store, are you?" "Negative. However, a shift is on the horizon." He retrieved his phone and swiftly composed a message to his corporate office. In no time, the district manager received the notification. He then pivoted his attention back to Maya. He requested assistance in maintaining operations until a new manager arrives. "Are you able to accomplish that?" Maya paused, visibly taken aback. "Well, that's true, but I haven't had the experience of running a store before," Kieran stated with conviction. "I've witnessed enough today to place my trust in you. You may not hold a permanent position of authority, but I require someone who genuinely values customer satisfaction to assist in transforming the culture here." Maya adjusted her posture, as though coming to terms with the significance of his request. "All right, I can manage that," Kieran acknowledged, then glanced around the store. The atmosphere was beginning to lighten, yet patrons remained apprehensive. He had to establish the atmosphere for what was to come. He moved to the center of the room and elevated his voice slightly to ensure it could be heard. "I want to extend my sincerest apologies to anyone who may have felt overlooked, dismissed, or unwelcome today. We operate differently, and this will not occur again." A handful of patrons shared knowing looks. A figure at the rear, the man in the hoodie who nearly exited without making a purchase, offered a subtle nod of approval. Kieran glanced over his shoulder at Maya. "We need to ensure that each customer receives the attention they deserve before we wrap up for the evening." Maya offered him a resolute nod. "Certainly." As she approached to help a couple perusing handbags, Kieran inhaled deeply. Today revealed a harsh reality. Owning the company did not guarantee that his employees upheld the values upon which it was founded. That was on the verge of transformation, and this marked merely the start. Kieran lingered in the store long after the doors had closed, perched at a polished black counter in the rear office. Within the hour, Lauren, his district manager, arrived, her expression tense as she took in everything he shared. They examined the security footage side by side, validating his first-hand account. Alyssa and Jake had clearly acted on a bias that was in direct opposition to the principles he had established for the company. Lauren positioned herself opposite him, rhythmically tapping a pen on her notepad. "I will take charge of the hiring process for a new manager, but we must confront the harm inflicted on customer trust. If news gets out about today's events, it could significantly damage the reputation of this place." Kieran reclined, pondering her words. "Then we take the initiative," Lauren responded with a deliberate nod. "Are you looking to issue a public statement?" Kieran replied, "No, not at this moment. It's simple to overlook statements as mere public relations tactics. I want clients to witness the transformation directly." Lauren placed her pen aside. "What approach do you have in mind for that?" He took his time before responding. Instead, he accessed the company's internal messaging system and composed a directive. "All locations in the chain will receive prompt retraining in customer service, emphasizing the importance of addressing unconscious bias. Everyone would be held accountable, including those in senior positions. As he typed, Lauren observed him intently. Do you really believe that just training will solve this issue? Kieran shook his head in disbelief. The journey begins with training. A transformation in our cultural landscape is essential. This entails selecting the appropriate individuals and ensuring they are held responsible for their actions. No more managers who only focus on selling to a specific type of customer. Lauren exhaled, pushing her notepad aside. Maya conducted herself admirably today. If she remains with us, I can envision her advancing. Kieran cast a quick look at the door that opened onto the sales floor. Maya remained out there, meticulously arranging displays and verifying inventory with precision. She remained without prompting, ensuring the store was prepared for the following day. Kieran acknowledged her potential, but he was hesitant to place her in a management role at this time. She requires time to develop in the position. Lauren rose to her feet, extending her arms wide. I will appoint an interim manager as we look for a long-term replacement. Someone capable of upholding the level of service you anticipate. Kieran closed his laptop with a decisive click. Ensure they grasp the reasons behind this occurrence from the outset. I prefer not to exchange one issue for another. With a resolute nod, Lauren made her way to the door. In the solitude of the office, Kieran took a brief pause to contemplate. He founded this company with the conviction that true luxury lies in experience rather than in exclusivity. Observing employees distort that vision into something unappealing had served as a crucial realization. He rose to his feet, took hold of his coat, and made his way back across the sales floor. Maya meticulously arranged the folded sweaters by the window display, each movement deliberate and exact. She lifted her gaze as she sensed his nearing footsteps. Are we all set for tomorrow? He inquired. She gave a slight nod. I believe that to be the case. Kieran crossed his arms, a sense of unease settling in as he remarked on the absence of Alyssa and Jake. That is precisely the essence. This store is about to take on a new atmosphere. Maya paused before she began to speak. May I pose a question to you? He motioned for her to go on. Did you anticipate that today would unfold as it did? Kieran pondered the question. I anticipated encountering a few problems. I was taken aback by their sheer audacity. Maya scowled. I have always believed that high-end retail should be about elevating individuals, not diminishing their worth. He gave a slight nod. That is how it ought to be, and that is what we will rectify. Maya cast a quick look at the neatly arranged shelves before turning her gaze back to him. Kieran met her gaze, his expression unwavering, as he hoped for success. Certainly will. With that, he pivoted toward the door, crossing into the refreshing embrace of the night air. There remained tasks ahead, yet for the first time in ages, he sensed a renewed confidence that the company was steering towards the right direction. The following morning, Kieran made his way to the store ahead of its opening hours. The air held a refreshing chill, and the city streets remained tranquil as the initial hints of activity began to awaken in the nearby shops. He had hardly found rest, his thoughts racing through all that required transformation. Maya was already present, fine-tuning a display by the entrance. She glanced up upon noticing him, offering a brief nod before refocusing on her task. Lauren had appointed an interim manager, Daniel, to supervise the store during the search for a permanent replacement. Kieran had examined his history. He had overseen another site prior to departing for a corporate position. At this moment, he was taking action to bring stability. Daniel showed up shortly after, clutching a compact leather notebook. He was in his middle years, attired in a stylish yet friendly manner, exuding a straightforward and pragmatic vibe. He grasped Kieran's hand with conviction before shifting his attention to Maya. You've been keeping everything in place, she corrected herself. I've been putting in my utmost effort, Daniel acknowledged. That's commendable. We need to ensure the store operates at its highest potential. Kieran observed Daniel as he moved across the floor, assessing the layout and scrutinizing the arrangement of the products. He navigated the space with purpose, inquiring of Maya regarding inventory, customer flow, and the duties of the staff. Every detail was precise, intentional. content, Kieran drew Maya to the side. You will collaborate closely with Daniel, who understands my expectations, but I encourage you to observe his methods carefully. She paused, contemplating the idea of learning from him. Do you really believe I have what it takes to be a manager? You're already demonstrating leadership, he remarked. This is your opportunity to explore whether it's a commitment you desire for the future. She absorbed that, nodding thoughtfully. The initial patrons made their entrance shortly after the doors swung open. Kieran lingered, observing the dynamics of interactions unfold under Daniel's guidance. A clear transformation was evident. Every customer who entered was welcomed warmly, no matter their attire. A man clad in a casual windbreaker lingered at the entrance, his gaze darting around with a hint of uncertainty. In the past, Alyssa or Jake would have overlooked him. Today, Maya came to him with a warm smile, inquiring if he required assistance in locating anything. Kieran observed the man as he visibly eased his tension and accompanied her to a rack of jackets. This is how it was meant to be from the very beginning. As the morning progressed, Lauren made her entrance. She discreetly guided Kieran to a quieter corner at the rear of the store. She mentioned that she had a conversation with corporate. The training will be required across the entire chain. All shops will experience this in the upcoming 2 months. Excellent, he remarked. She cast her eyes downward. What about the process for hiring a permanent manager? He expressed his desire to observe Maya's progress in the upcoming weeks. Lauren pondered that if she was willing, she would secure the position. That's a significant milestone for her. Kieran remarked on her potential. Following the events that unfolded, I seek someone trustworthy. Lauren chose not to dispute this. Throughout the day, Kieran noticed increasing signs of progress. Previously neglected customers were now being given the attention they deserved. The atmosphere in the store was transformed, imbued with a sense of lightness and warmth that invited exploration. As the afternoon wore on, a recognizable figure stepped in, the man in the hoodie from the day before. He surveyed his surroundings, appearing hesitant about whether to remain. Kieran observed as Daniel caught sight of him and promptly moved closer. Welcome back, Daniel said. Is there anything I can assist you with today? The man paused for a moment, then gave a slight nod. I was considering a jacket yesterday, but I didn't inquire about it. Come, let's explore, Daniel suggested, guiding him to the display. Kieran experienced a subtle sense of fulfillment. The transition was already underway. Before departing, he spotted Maya by the counter. How are you doing? He inquired. She let out a breath, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. He nodded, acknowledging that it's different, and in a positive light. Maintain it as is. She locked eyes with him. I shall. As Kieran emerged onto the sidewalk, he was acutely aware that his tasks were far from complete. For the first time in quite some time, he sensed a renewed confidence that his company was heading in the right direction.